I would like to nominate Marit Brock.
Any other nominations? Yes.
For Resolution 212, I'd like to nominate Darren Tobolt.
Ward 2, Precinct 9, and I'm here to second the nomination for Darren Tollefson.
We're just taking nominations, not seconds. So,
I'm Nicole Garcia, and from 212, I nominate Garcia.
Louis Garcia. Any further nominations? The mic is here in the front if someone's making their way.
Good.
There. We're good.
Oh, never mind.
Hey, there you go. All good.
My name is New Young. I'm from Ward 2, Precinct 14. I'd like to nominate Rebecca Noecker.
Are there any further nominations? Are there any further nominations? Are there any further nominations? Seeing none, we'll close nominations. And we put the names here and drawing by lot right now. The order of speakers, there will be each candidate will have 5 minutes to speak at the podium. And we will go. The first speaker will be Marit Brock. The second speaker will be Garcia. The third speaker will be Rebecca Noecker. And the fourth will be Darren Tobolt.
While we're giving our first a little opportunity to get organized, so while Merit is getting organized, just a reminder of how this process, this section will go. So again, they're organizing over here, which will be good. If you have any sort of media, you're telling me, I'll be helping with the media. So if you see glitchy media, know that it might be the math teacher, not the campaign. So again, each candidate gets 5 minutes to speak. Reminder, only 5 people up here. Once you get up here, you see why we can't fill the stage much. But you can fill the space in front all you want. After that, we'll have a question and answer period. We are currently sorting questions. So if you have any final questions, we need them now. We're not going to take them much longer. So any further questions? They'll give 1-minute answers. It'll be a 30-minute section. And then we'll begin balloting. So just checking to see if our, this is ready. Excuse me, 1 moment.
From the west side to West 7, Lower Town to Downtown to Upper Town, Summit Avenue to Stryker Avenue, Marit Brock is ready to serve on City Council for Ward 2. She is the only candidate who has brought neighbors, businesses, organizations, and city government together to revitalize neighborhoods, bring in new businesses, and create safe places for kids to play, people to walk, and businesses to thrive. Marit knows it's about our block, our neighborhood, our ward, our city, because our community matters.
Good afternoon. I'm Connie Lewis. I've lived in Ward 2 for 35 years, and I'm proud to second the nomination of Marit Brock for City Council. She has the talent, the experience, the toughness, and the passion that we need to represent all of our neighborhoods in City Hall. Like my former boss and friend Paul Wellstone, Marit recognizes that politics is about improving people's lives. She sees possibilities, not problems. She's committed to the idea that we build community by putting people's wishes, needs, and hopes first. Marit has demonstrated that commitment and skill time and time again. First, in rebuilding her own little bohemian neighborhood, and then the larger West 7 community in the Stryker and Baker neighborhoods on the west side, downtown with the North Day Center, and finally in her important work to reduce gun violence. I urge you to endorse Marit Brock for City Council.
Good afternoon. My name is Luis Ortega, and I'm here to ask you to vote to secure the DFL endorsement for the City Council representing Ward 2 to Marit Brock. Over the last 2 years, I've gotten to know Marit, and she's demonstrated the qualities that I see as essential to the duties of this office. As a 15-year resident, she has personal investment in the community. As a community member and a leader, Marit asks the questions in her desire to learn about the issues. And secondly, and more importantly, she actually listens and the response and follows up with action. Her prior accomplishments support her willingness to work with and for community and I believe she is the best candidate that will continue to do that for the West Side and Ward 2. Committed to community, dedicated to discussion, and ready for action. Please vote for Marit.
My name is Marit Brock, and I'm here seeking your endorsement for the St. Paul City Council. I will not run without it because the Democratic Farmer Labor Party is my party. Here's what I've done to earn your support. Founded in DFL principles, I'm the only candidate who's used grassroots organizing for more than a decade to bring the voices of our neighborhoods together and build strong communities, bring in new businesses, and revitalize housing and public spaces. I'm the only candidate with kids in the public schools. I understand how important it is to connect city resources, communities, and families to ensure the development of our children. Kids will stay in St. Paul and contribute to our communities. I'm the only candidate who's brought people of different races and generations together to make sure our neighborhoods work for everybody. The kids in a tough spot at Journey School, families of all types, seniors, singles, and the kids who just want to play basketball at our rec centers. I want to be a city council person to continue the work that I've started. I want to be the city council person who champions a safe and sick time ordinance for St. Paul that's a model for the rest of us. I want to be the city council person who works with West Siders to rejuvenate Stryker Avenue. I want to be the city council person who brings the success we've seen in Lower Town to all of downtown. And I want to be the city council person who continues to work with each and every one of you to make sure our neighborhoods are the great places we know they can be. I want this endorsement. I want to serve you on the city council. Let's make this happen today.
Garcia, we'll start moving to the front. We'll get ready for your presentation, your speech.
Good afternoon, Ward 2 delegates, alternates, elected officials, friends and family. My name is Garcia, and it is my honor to speak here before you on this stage and share with so many great candidates. I grew up in St. Paul, and have lived all around the city. It's been my home for over 20 years. I cherish many of the memories and experiences that I had in the city. I went to school in St. Paul, played for sports for St. Paul, and I also zipped my go-karts and mopeds around our alleyways in the middle of the night. It also holds a lot of firsts for me. The first time I drove a car, my first date, sorry Nicole, and now it's the first time I'm running for public office. I really do thank St. Paul for what it's done for me as a young person growing up in the city. Growing up, my mother worked multiple jobs while also attending college, so our family could have a better future. Outside of school, I relied on our city services like our parks and libraries and recreation centers to pass the time. And these programs really empowered me to create and nurture and value the principles of learning, playing, and exploring in our city. If I wasn't at the park, I was on my bike, biking around the city with my friends, exploring our neighborhoods. That was me growing up in the city. I'm also an immigrant. I was born in Mexico, lived there for the first 6 months of my life, and immigrated here with my father from Mexico. We came to the Twin Cities at a time when there were less than 30,000 Latinos in the Twin Cities area. I watched how my father worked his way through society and never gave up on supporting his family and supporting his employees through this business. We've seen our neighborhoods change, we've seen the landscapes change as well. We've seen our neighborhoods become richer with diversity, developed to better serve the needs of our residents and visitors. And while there's evident progress for many, many are still left behind. And these inequities are creating battles in our neighborhoods. These are battles raging on against our most vulnerable communities, our immigrants, our black lives, and those who are in poverty and homeless. Our system tilts the scales against these communities. Families are being ripped apart due to terrible immigration policies. Our black young men are under attack. And the system of shame and punishment forces our poorest and homeless into isolation. We must fight back against this. I'm a candidate with a life experience to fight these battles. My platform aims to bring greater development to our city while also bringing greater empowerment and protection to the people of the city. That's why my platform is focused on bringing 21st century infrastructure by providing businesses and residents with faster broadband access through fiber optic. Just as Obama reminded us a few weeks ago, America is in the slow lane. St. Paul can't wait any longer to be a competitive market for businesses. Businesses are searching for a place to thrive. In addition to offering faster internet speeds, I also want faster transit. People need to connect to our city, and our residents and our neighbors need to connect to our city in a more rapid fashion. This is why I support light rail transit and bus rapid transit. With businesses choosing to open their doors and relocate to St. Paul, this will help broaden our tax base so we can more fully fund and invest in our out-of-school programs that empower our youth, our women, our people of color, and help them thrive. We must fully fund and staff these services. I will be a partner with our public schools and the county to create more wraparound services for our neighborhood schools. No child should have to leave the neighborhood for a basic checkup, eye exam, or dental exam. Finally, we must be devoted to a more transparent government. With trust, engagement, and accessibility at all times lows, I promise to implement an open data and portal policy so our information can be better accessible to all people of the city. I want to close by expressing how grateful I am for all of you coming out here today, even those who are not supporting me. You are what makes St. Paul such a great and wonderful place to call home. You are the backbone of the party, and I will respect your decision here today. And if you choose me, I will faithfully execute the office. Thank you so much.
Our next group is Rebecca Noecker.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here to second the nomination of Rebecca Noecker for Ward 2 City Council. My name is Marit Brock, and I'm a fifth-generation St. Paulite. I have a healthy respect and a love for the many great traditions of our city. But I also understand the need for new ideas and a fresh perspective. On a bitter cold night last December, that fresh perspective knocked on my door. Her name is Rebecca Noecker. Rebecca shares my values in the areas of equity, faith, volunteerism, education, and transportation. A livable city. As a member of St. Paul's Planning Commission, Rebecca has demonstrated a clear understanding of the need for a different and more efficient approach in the ongoing development of our city. As a scholar and educator, Rebecca will advocate for strong schools, citywide. As my neighbor across the hydrant, I know that Rebecca will make a strong, positive impact for the city that I love. Brothers and sisters, I give you our next word to City Council.
Freezing cold morning to be part of this very important decision. My name is Rebecca Noecker, and I'm here today to humbly ask for your endorsement to City Council. I'm a mom of 2 kids. Under the age of 2, so as you can imagine, I spend a lot of time talking about sharing. Lately, my son Whitman has been trying to figure out exactly what he needs to share. Books, share. Toys, share. Boogers, let's not get kicked out of daycare. I'm trying to teach him not just what to share, but why to share. In my Jewish faith, the word for sharing wealth, tzedakah, is often mistranslated as charity, but it actually means justice. In my tradition, looking out for one another isn't about doing what's good, it's about doing what's right. Doing right by everyone, we feel it. I felt it when I taught in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, in a school in which every single person in that school had given up on my students, including the students themselves. I felt it when I lived in India, and trucks would pull up outside a well outside the slum to cart water away from that slum every day to posh condos miles away outside of town. And I feel it here. When a resident of a public housing community on the west side tells me she has never ever heard from a sitting city council member, I feel that. When we wait outside for a bus on a bench called a shelter and it's 6 below, we feel that. Our kids inside on summer nights because there are gunshots ringing out in our neighborhoods, we feel that. When Derelict and Seven Corners close their doors and take our jobs and our neighbors' jobs with them, we feel that. When we avoid the eyes of a homeless veteran holding a piece of cardboard by 35E, we feel it. And we feel it when we tell our children that everyone matters and everyone deserves the best, and we silently wonder how long it's going to take them to realize that that's not actually how it works. I want to challenge us today to do what our party has always done best. I want us to imagine a greater St. Paul that reflects our deepest values. A city where no matter where you live, you can walk to buy a pair of socks or a light bulb. Where taking the bus or the train is everyone's first choice. Where every job pays a living wage with earned, sick, and saved time. You have to know the right people to have a voice at City Hall, and whether you are poor or female or black or gay or young or old, you matter and you feel safe. It's not about Facebook likes or Twitter feeds. It's not about who knows who or who's done what for how long. In a few hours, these signs are going to come down, these cheers will fade, and this room will fill with the people who literally build our city. I want to help build that city too, a city that reflects our deepest values, that we are all proud of, that is who we are. My name is Rebecca Noecker, and that is what I will do every single minute as your city council member.
proud to support Darren Tobolt for St. Paul City Council. I've known Darren for over 20 years, and what Darren has is this very special ability to bring people together to solve problems. I've seen that firsthand. And you know, in our community, we have a great community, but we also have a lot of issues that we need to solve. We've got issues related to race equity. We've got issues related to police community relations. And we've got issues related to violence in our homes and our community. And I really believe that Darren has those abilities to bring people together, to engage our community, to solve those things. And so I'm just very, really excited to be supporting him, and I ask you to do the same. Thank you very much.
A labor and an education leader who understands that our city council works best when it is working in concert with us, with moms, with teachers, with labor leaders, and with other educators to make sure that we are working on behalf of our students and their families together. Even better yet, I know Darren understands it. Please join me in welcoming the next city council member from Ward 2, Darren Tobolt.
My name is Darren Tobolt, and I'm here to ask for your endorsement. First, I want to thank you all for participating here today. As a former DFL chair that has worked hard to get people engaged in this process, it's so exciting to see a room so full of people to help us decide our next candidate. Thank you. Second, I want to thank the other candidates, Rebecca, Marit, and Lewis. It's been really great to get to know you, and I really respect your commitment to the city we all love, St. Paul. Also, thank you to Marit Noecker and John Choi. I really loved you guys becoming national leaders, and it really is humbling to have your support. I also want to thank my wife, Wendy Underwood. She's my advisor, my best friend, my fiercest supporter. Finally, I want to thank Dave Thune. You know, Dave, and for all his service. Where is he back there? You know, he may not realize it, but in many ways, you know, Dave's partly responsible for why I'm here. 20 years ago, Dave was a council member and a co-chair of a campaign to bring a living wage ordinance to St. Paul. I was there working my first job as an organizer, and I learned the immediate impact that the city can have on the lives of working families. I have kept that commitment to equity at the center of my career, and I am humbled to be endorsed by so many great organizations that are fighting for working families in St. Paul. And I will continue to do that fight, because as a council member, I will advance that work, and I will fight for the earned sick time ordinance. I worked in the DFL, and I have built incredible relationships. I've learned how to effectively work across levels of government, and have brought community activists together to get things done, because there is so much to do. We need to build strong and equitable neighborhoods with safe and stable housing, bikeable, walkable streets, better access to transit, and a healthy environment where small businesses can thrive. We need the city to deliver on quality public services, and like libraries and rec centers, to be fully staffed and open when working families need them to be open. With programs like the Blueprint for Safety and Safe Harbors, St. Paul has become a national leader in responding to violence in our community and addressing the needs of survivors. But we need to do more. We need to address the causes and become leaders at preventing violence, because being safe and secure is a right that everyone should enjoy. I want to build power in our community in Ward 2. I will hold office hours throughout the ward, I will return every phone call, and I won't play favorites. I want to bring all of our neighbors together, not just those who come to their DFL conventions, not just those who go to their district councils, but everybody across Ward 2. I've been fortunate to have earned many endorsements, but it's the DFL endorsement that holds a special place in my heart. I'm asking for your endorsement today because I believe in this party, I believe in this ward, I believe in this work, and I believe in you. And I'm excited for us to move St. Paul forward together.
don't wander far. We're going to be moving immediately into our Q&A period. So if I could have the 4 candidates come on up, and you're going to come up and have 2 of you sit over here, 2 of you sit over there, and just come on up and have a seat. We'll try to clear your space. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Again, we have a 30-minute Q&A that will begin when I begin the first question. Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer and then pass it to the next person. Once we get to that 30-minute point, we'll just finish whichever question we're on. And right after that, then we'll be ready to move to balloting. So I will also, at the end of that, give a 5-minute warning to please report. We will go right into balloting after this section. So to begin, the first question, as per our rules, will you suspend your campaign if someone other than you is endorsed by this convention? Yes or no, answer only.
Yes. Yes, I will.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Our next question. How should we approach public transit in Ward 2?
Well, I'm a firm believer that we just need more rapid transit options in and out of the city, especially from downtown to the airport and downtown to the eastern suburbs. I see St. Paul having a crisis of mobility. It's really challenging to get from any neighborhood of St. Paul to any other neighborhood of St. Paul. And we have to work on putting out light rail and bus rapid transit so we can move people in and out of the city as quickly as possible so we see less congestion on our roads and less challenges in just navigating our city. I also believe that there's opportunities to work within our means to have better neighborhood connections through rapid transit, and I'm looking forward to seeing that happen in St. Paul.
I think that transit is one of the critical factors in determining whether or not people have a fair shot, and that's why I've been talking about it from the beginning of my campaign. As a 31-year-old, I also chose to move to St. Paul because I knew that getting around would be possible without a car, but it's not necessarily as easy as I thought it would be. That's what's going to attract more people to our city. I specifically think we need more east-west bus connections, especially in my neighborhood on the west side. We also need more ways to get to light rail. Light rail is a great start, but the bus was also going to get us there. I'm a huge fan of implementing the citywide bike plan. To me, biking is a form of transit. And I also don't think we need any rail on West 7th. I was the only planning commissioner to vote against the further study of streetcars down West 7th, not because I'm opposed to streetcars in principle, because I didn't think we needed a $200,000 additional study of it, but I know that rail is not the right choice for West 7th, and I would be a huge fan of bus rapid transit to get us to and from the airport, and also to help people who live in our neighborhoods get from place to place, not just as a way of bypassing our neighborhoods. Thank you.
So transportation options are really about equity in the environment. They allow people to get to the places that they need to get to in their lives without the need of a car, whether if they choose not to have a car for whatever reason. It's also better for our environment. I think into the future, as we plan our transportation options, I really want to make sure that community involvement is front and center, because any decision that's made for the region also affects our neighborhoods, and we need to make sure that we build those together. So I really want to say, first thing that the city needs to do is do better pedestrian-oriented development, because the first trip on a train or a bus is literally a step. So we need to make sure that people can get to the things that they need with a bike or by foot, and that's the way that we start building our better transportation system.
I think the one thing that makes me different is my experience getting things done in the neighborhood, and not just making things happen, but how it makes things happen. And the most important thing to me is the public process. Right now we have a really important decision coming for Ward 2, and that's the Riverview Corridor Transit Study. And it's a huge public process that's happening. It'll take a year, and I want to make sure that whatever commitments we make to transit fits with our neighborhoods and have the input of our communities. I also want to make sure that we're not just stuck on cars, buses, and light rail transit, but we're also thinking about pedestrians, bikes, and not only healthy adults, but the kids in our neighborhood, elderly people, and disabled people. And all of those decisions will come through the public process, making sure we're spending our money wisely.
How would you approach how to make Ward 2 more walkable and bike-friendly? And we'll go here.
Well, that sounds a lot like the last question, but I think that, but it's an important question, and it's one that it's definitely going to affect the way that we go into the future. And I think we need, the public process is very important, and that people have their voices heard, and that we get together and we design the city for the future, our city for the future. Because that's going to attract new people here, it's going to attract new jobs here, and I think that's very important that we do it. So we're going to definitely implement the bike plan as we go forward. There's great opportunities on all our neighborhoods for better bike lanes, for off-street trails on former rail corridors, and we're going to make sure that everyone has their voice heard.
I really did the last question, and I sort of answered some of that too, that we have to make sure that our neighborhoods are walkable, bike-friendly for everybody. And I can point to my work in my own neighborhood with the 35 e-bike path and trying to make sure that we are using the and that we're not creating new until we know that what we already have is well-maintained and works for everybody. We've been working hard to find funding to make sure that that's safe, that we have lighting, and that there's connections to downtown. The downtown bike loop will be important because it will make sure that people can I can safely get my kids from the West 7th neighborhood to the farmer's market without feeling like I'm being irresponsible trying to get them across College Boulevard. Making sure we have good connections and we have a good plan going forward.
So it's an excellent question, and I think I first became aware of the need for us to have a better bike plan in the city when my husband told me he went to pick up our sons from daycare and kindercare downtown St. Paul, and he was riding with the Burley, so the kids were in the Burley behind him, and he got honked at, Marit Brock on Kellogg, for not doing anything wrong, but just being a bike on the street. He got honked at. And to me, the citywide bike plan with designated lanes is going to make it more possible for everybody to get out there and bike, men, women, kids, everyone. So in addition to that, I'm also in favor of the 4th Street Greenway downtown. That would allow people to actually park their cars near Rice Park and walk to Mears, which would also help us get more retail in that dead zone downtown between Rice and Mears, that kind of go-to-town area. And then finally, there's one major issue that we don't talk a lot about that has to do with walkability, which is snow removal, not just plowing. If you are on a wheelchair, pushing a stroller, pushing a walker, pushing a stroller, with the moms out there, it's impossible to get around in the winter, and that's a lot of years if that snow isn't removed. So that's another thing I think we need to talk about.
So like I was saying on my platform, to really make our city competitive in the 21st century, we need to have 21st century infrastructure, and that applies to our infrastructure and how people move around in our city, not just in the car, but also on the vehicle, as a pedestrian, in any mode of transportation they choose, as their skateboard or rollerblades, for that matter. And we really have to make our neighborhoods a safe place for them to be, because when things are walkable, there's a sense of safety as well, especially when you're looking at the trend of attacks that are happening in downtown. People are becoming to feel less safe with moving around. So we need to ensure that that things are safe, things are walkable, and in terms of walkability, I'm in favor of reducing 4 lanes of depths to using bump outs to ensure that people can safely cross the street. I live on Smith Avenue, and I've seen with having parked vehicles on both sides and raging traffic, especially through rush hour, it's really challenging for anyone to cross that street. And I'm always seeing people stranded and waiting. They're at the crosswalks as law-abiding people cannot cross.
All right. What have you done to address the issues of citizens experiencing homelessness facing Ward 2? And what is your vision for the future?
Yes, thank you. So, to me, housing is a critical issue.
Check. Guess what happened? Yep. So, tell me, I want you to... No, I don't think you did. I think our options are to use the mic up here. All right, so you guys going to be ready. All right, now be ready. This is going to be the motion portion. All right.
Glad I was the first one on this one. So to me, in terms of talking about equity, housing is probably one of the most important issues we can talk about. I'm a huge supporter of having all kinds of housing co-located with services, because people who are homeless or people who are facing housing shortages need to have services at the same place. So the work of expansion, I'm sorry that it took us so long to find a place for it, but I'm extremely excited that it's happening. I'm toured the Higher Ground facility in Minneapolis, and I really believe that is the way to do it, to have those services and being able to move from emergency shelter to living on your own, all in the same facility. But I also think we need to talk about living wage jobs and earn sick and save time. Because if you have a job that does not allow you sick and save time, if you have a job that doesn't pay a living wage, if you're cobbling together multiple different opportunities, as so many people in our neighborhoods are, then housing is going to be a near impossibility for you. In the moment an emergency happens, you're not going to be able to deal with it, and you're going to be on the street. So I think these things come together, and part of giving a living wage is to implement our living wage ordinance consistently and bringing more businesses that pay a living wage to our neighborhoods.
people are in poverty in St. Paul at this time. We're seeing Dorothy Day at its capacity and exceeding its capacity and unable to have the services needed to bring empowerment and protect these people who are vulnerable in our communities. And that's why I bring a platform of economic development. With greater economic development, we can enable businesses to do the right things and hire the right workers at a livable wage, so they can bring dignity and empowerment back to people who need it the most and who are the most vulnerable in our communities. And as we see inequities become pervasive throughout our environment, I'll work to champion progressive policies that empower the most vulnerable people of our community, so they have a voice and they have the required resources and tools and people to work with to get back on their feet. And that includes bringing an environment of economic development and ensuring that we're working with our communities to empower them once again.
The important thing to know about addressing homelessness is that it has to happen across layers of government, and it has to happen with nonprofits. It has to be an entire community solution. And that's what we need to know. So the continuum of care is very important. I've been very active as a member of the St. Paul Coalition for the Homeless, dealing not only with supportive housing, not only with shelter, but also with supportive housing, and moving people not just into shelter and off the streets, but then staying with them through the next steps, so that they can get on their feet, get jobs, and move forward in their lives. It's very important that we all work together, and it's very important that we have a plan. Step one, if I get elected, is going to be providing more youth shelter.
Dealing with the homeless neighbors that we have in our community is something that I've been very active with over the last 2 years, specifically related to the Dorothy Day Center expansion. And not only do I support the expansion and making sure that there's services there, but working really hard as a member of the community to make sure that there's a good connection between the neighborhoods bordering downtown and the people at Dorothy Day, that there's not a competitive nature there, people aren't afraid of our homeless neighbors, and that we feel empowered to ask our city, Catholic Charities, Ramsey County, for the services that we see that are lacking in the neighborhood, like good quality mental health services for everybody. I was leading meetings for the past year to make sure that the Dorothy Day Center works, and that it works well, and that we're also dealing with the issue of crime, making sure that our veterans are getting the care that they need.
All right, our next question. What have you done to bring in and support local independent businesses in Ward 2?
This is my favorite question because it was the one thing that I didn't expect when I started organizing for safe and affordable housing in our neighborhood. This is the impact that that investment would have on small businesses. So not only the businesses already existing in our neighborhood who had already made a commitment, but being able to build a vision so that new businesses could start up. And that instead of an adult bookstore on West 7th Street, we have Claudia Coffee. And instead of a vacant tire store that we all hated, we have a great small business with Bad Weather Brewery moving in. I believe that we can continue to build a small business investment in our neighborhoods that fits with each of the neighborhoods. And I've got great ideas for the west side of Stryker Avenue to fill all of those storefronts with family-owned small businesses that pay a living wage.
One of the experiences I've had that I think most qualifies me to be on the City Council is working on the Planning Commission. And for the last 3.5 years on the Commission, one of the things that I've always tried to vote for is consistency in implementing our city policies and ordinances, because there's nothing that's harder for a small business to do than to cope with the uncertainty of knowing whether or not the city is actually going to meet it this time. So every time I've been voting for consistency so that people know what to expect. While I was the chair of the DFL Ward, We also made great strides towards creating a new vibrant business district and figuring out who was actually doing business in the neighborhood and how to support them. And then one idea I have for the future, I know this wasn't the question, but I'd be really excited about having a business recognition program in the city, an annual event where we recognize those businesses that have been here a long time, employing lots of people, paying a living wage with earn sick and save time, minority owned, lots of different ways that we could reinforce the kinds of values that we want to see for business owners in the city. Thank you.
I'm an entrepreneur, and I have a small business, and I brought it forward too. As a self-employed entrepreneurs, I greatly emphasize the challenges that our entrepreneurs and people who choose to start a business or grow their business face every day. I've also talked with numerous business owners, especially around District del Sol, an area that has many businesses, but it hasn't changed much over the years. And I've talked with them especially about how we can empower them and then talk about the ideas needed to revitalize that area of our ward and create an environment where more businesses can come in and realize their dreams as well. So I'll be the candidate who will champion the efforts for entrepreneurs, because those are the guys that get up every day and they work tirelessly to provide the jobs for the people who need them.
There's many hats that a city council member wears. There's an organizer, but this particular one calls for the hat of being a cheerleader and really promoting the neighborhood. And what I've done is I'll use the example of Skylark Dry Cleaning down on West 7th. It's well, it was great when they were looking for a new location. I took them to our neighborhood, right to West 7th, and showed them a building that needed some care, and that it was a great opportunity for them. And now, in that location, which was a vacant building, is now a family-owned green dry cleaning business that many of us use. It's fantastic. That I'll provide for every neighborhood and for every building that needs it. I also want to work with the Department of Safety, or make sure that the Department of Safety inspection works and has enough people there to make sure that we can get certificates of occupancy and get businesses open.
There we go. Okay, now I'm back on track, and I believe the microphone works again. Great. So, what have you done to support diversity and equity in Ward 2 neighborhoods?
So, okay, yeah, no, I'm sorry, it's the diversity and equity question. Okay. So, I think it's really important that we reach out to neighbors, that we make sure that everyone has a voice at the table. And what I've done specifically in Ward 2, besides bringing businesses here, is bringing my friends and my neighbors and bringing them together to talk about issues and make sure that we are moving St. Paul forward and promoting diversity and equity. And thank you very much.
The course that best represents the different diversity and equity needs in Ward 2 to me is what I learned working with Journeys School. Journeys is a high school that moved into our neighborhood 4 years ago. It's for emotional behavioral disorder teenagers. A locked school with kids who have not been successful anywhere else. Any neighborhood would have rejected that. Instead, we reached out and said, you have so many obstacles and barriers. We want to help you be successful in our neighborhood. And instead of complaining about the police calls, instead of complaining that it wasn't a community school for our kids, we made it work. And our local small businesses started hiring those kids for after after-school jobs, giving them opportunities. Our local yoga studio started helping them out with free yoga classes, again, giving them a safe place to call home in our neighborhood. And that's what I'll continue to do.
So issues of equity and diversity are what I have done for my entire career and why I'm running for the seat. I opposed the seat in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Louisiana was at the time ranked 49th in the country. I wanted to go to Mississippi, which was 50th, but I got my second choice because I knew that that was where the issues of equity were most pronounced, and I mentioned a bit about that earlier. I then went to India because I really wanted to see a situation where issues of equity were extremely pronounced. And was able to recruit people who were at prestigious universities to go become government teachers in public schools there, making about the salary of an auto rickshaw driver. And now I work as a director of outreach and partnerships at Achieve Minneapolis, which is a partner with Minneapolis Public Schools, bringing business people into our schools to help prepare our kids for their futures. What I've done specifically in Ward 2 is start Westsiders for Strong Schools, which is a group of community members equitable treatment of all of our schools. There are certain schools, Humboldt High School in our neighborhood, for example, that do not receive the same treatment from the district as other schools, and I want to recognize.
When I was a teenager, I volunteered at the Boys and Girls Club on the West Side. And it was there, that's the Boys and Girls Club, great organization. And it was there when I saw so many children with bright futures and with great resiliency, and it really inspired me to want to see these young people be prosperous. So really volunteering at the Boys and Girls Club on the West Side. Also know a few folks over at the Neighborhood House, another cornerstone of the West Side, that provide great resources to immigrants and people who need them, and they're a wonderful resource, and I've met with many of them to talk about the services that they provide and what we can do as people in the city to best bring people there and empower them as well. I'm also a member of the DFL Latino Caucus, so we've working on bolstering the involvement of Latinos in the political process and public policy. Most importantly, our family, being an immigrant family, we have seen other immigrants come to our city as well, and when they do, we empower them and we give them the resources they need to thrive in America.
I believe we'll have time for 2 more questions. And here's our next one. What have you done to revitalize Ward 2 neighborhoods?
So I think I talked a little bit about this earlier, but being the board chair of West Side Community Organization, one of the things that I've tried to do is to create a database and catalog of all the different businesses that exist in our community. We lost Rita a while ago, which is something that has really hurt our business community, and so I'm trying to bring that back. I also think that the work that I've done in terms of education on the West Side also speaks to revitalizing our business community. To me, whether or not students are prepared to access the jobs of the future determines whether or not we're going to have vibrant businesses. We hear lots of businesses today talking about whether or not they're going to have qualified workers. One of the things that I do in Minneapolis is work on the Step Up Summer Jobs program, which places 800 students a summer in corporate internships, paid 2,000 students a summer in nonprofit and government internships. The corollary in St. Paul is the Right Track program, which this summer will place 100 students in corporate internships compared to 800, and about 600 students total in internships compared to 2,000. I would like to greatly see that expand. I don't know why that disparity exists, but I would stop it.
There's a great man out there named Steve Stern. He couldn't be here with us tonight, but I met him. He's a neighbor of mine, and he's doing this great thing called pedaling with purpose. And so he's a bicyclist, and he's actually planning this trip to go from East Coast to West Coast and back here. It's like 6,000 miles. It's amazing. And it was through my campaign that I was actually able to have the opportunity to meet him. And so what we've been doing lately is actually biking around our neighborhood and picking up cans, because he's going and cashing in cans to fund his trip. So in a little way, that's how I've been able to leverage a relationship with a good neighbor of mine and actually partner on a mission that he has, while also benefiting our community by cleaning it up and making it clean and visually appealing for all of us. I've also been working with local businesses, like I mentioned before, as a small business owner. I've been consulting with many Ward 2 businesses and helping them with their businesses so they can attract more leads and be prosperous. And time. Here we go.
So I'd like to first say about the capital improvement committee that I'm on at the city, and I've definitely taken the opportunity to make sure that the city is investing in our community. Last time around we got money to fix up the El Rio Vista Fields. I believe they're called the Gilbert Vallejo Fields. It's over there. Parque Castillo. We also got money to fix up the Palace Rec Center. The Palace Rec Center is going to be going to look really great next year. And it's going to be fantastic. One of the reasons I'm running is to make sure that the Palace Rec Center stays open once we fix that up. And also just working to connect neighbors. It was really great when we moved into the neighborhood, and one of the things when a friend of mine moved into the neighborhood and started a Facebook page called the Cool Kids. Cool Kids that many people over here I've met through that, and we've all connected through that way. We've been able to promote our local businesses, and we've been able to meet and to have fun together. So thank you.
Revitalizing neighborhoods is what I do. It's everything that I've done. It started in my own neighborhood when we had a crisis with the bad landlord and vacant housing, and that turned into the Little Bohemian Neighborhood Association. Revitalizing housing, working with city departments like the police, public works, Department of Safety and Inspections to hold rental property owners accountable for safety, and reaching out to small businesses and recruiting small businesses. Not only have I done that in Little Bohemia, but I expanded that work and was involved with the Schmidt Brewery rehabilitation, which has been a great asset to us. I know that investing in our urban neighborhoods, whether it's housing, small business, safety, and partnering with the city and communities is something that's not only possible, it's the best thing that we can do for our neighborhoods.
Well, unfortunately, we're not able to get to all of the questions that were submitted. God love the person who tried to submit one during the thing and thought they might get through it. And our final question was a nice one, I think, to end on today. What are you going to do to build trust in local government?
That is a good question, and I think that's, again, the reason why I'm running. I've worked hard using grassroots organizing to make sure that people are involved in the decisions that impact our everyday lives. Things like how safe are our streets, do they get plowed, what are the services that we need from the city. As a city council person, I want to make sure that we all have an understanding of what we're paying for, that we're clear about what we want from our city, whether it's rec centers or police, whether it's making sure that the garbage hauling works for our neighborhoods and is sustainable for our neighborhoods. And I'll make sure to reach out to all throughout the community, build coalitions with community groups, with our labor groups, with seniors and other representative groups to make sure that you all have a voice in the decisions that we're making that impact your everyday lives.
Well, I believe that engaging communities is right in my wheelhouse. It's the reason that I wanted to run for City Council. The reason I want to represent Ward 2 is to build power right here. Because I think that the City Council member is the best person to do that. And that's why I've committed to hold office hours throughout the district, in the rec centers, in libraries, in local businesses. We're going to make sure that people know that their City Council member is there and is listening to them and wants to hear from them and wants to make sure that their ideas work. I have done that in my career. I have done that in my volunteer career, and I will continue to do that as a City Council member. So I look forward to your support.
Building trust among different partners in the community is exactly exactly what I've done for my entire career. There are a few things that I would do as a city council member to ensure that that trust is strengthened. First of all, communication is the #1 priority for me. I get every other weekly updates from my senator, Sandy Pappas, as to what's going on in her office. I love getting those, and I want to implement at least every other weekly, if maybe monthly, updates from my office about what's going on in city council. I also think it's really important to be straightforward with folks. When you disagree on an issue, it's important to communicate why you disagree so that they're not surprised later on by your decision. And I would hope to have a relationship with all of you here that we're able to do that. And then finally, I think public meetings are a key way that people interact with government. But if those meetings are held solely in English, or if they're not, if babysitting isn't provided, then they're not truly accessible. And so to me, it's really important to make sure every interaction with public officials is also a space everybody can come to. And by the way, being held during the working day is also not an option.
So about 5 years ago, I pioneered this concept of a federal taxpayer receipt website called whatwepayfor.com. It was the first of its kind that showed where your tax contribution went, your individual tax contribution. And it was broken down to dollars and cents to all the functions and sub-functions and bureaus and agencies of the federal government. This, in essence, is transparency. And if we want to do anything with trust, we need to have transparency in government. And that means by opening up our budget, our contracts, other data sets that the public deserves to know, and have them in a way that is accessible to people so they can understand where the priorities of city government are and what the decisions are. And getting these decisions and these dialogues out of the back room and out onto the public floor. Open portal, open data, and portal policy, allowing, and many other cities have done something very similar. It can be done in St. Paul. This will open up information like we haven't seen it before. If you've tried to use the St. Paul website in the past and have been frustrated about it, transparency will help.
And Rick, I have to tell you, someone who's come, driven up 35 miles to get down here, you really are the envy of the state. I think you should give your candidates a round of applause. Let me get my timer up here. We are